Okay, we're back in the bunker. I'm just looking at my calendar here. So January 29 was the last time the Wheelhouse Cycling Podcast graced all of your favourite podcast channels. Like, share, subscribe, tell everyone you know. And the good news is we're back and it's everyone. The whole team is here. 4 out of 4 marked off the roll this morning. I'm Joel Spreadborough. Katherine Bates is here.
It's been a minute. Happy to be back.
It's been a hot minute. Henk Vogels.
Yes, glad to be back.
Let's try that again. Henk Vogels.
Yes, glad to be back.
There we go. And it is a big hello to the one and only Merckxy and his, what are they called? Angel poppers that you're working on?
Cloud lifters.
Cloud lifters. Where did I get angel poppers from?
Oh, I do not know. I'm not going to Google that.
You've been to a rave lately?
I must have been. It has been a minute, so let's just catch up. We've got plenty to get through, as always. The cycling world hasn't stopped. We asked, can you just stop operating for a few months while we're on hiatus? And they said no. So we'll catch up with all that. But first, let's start with you, Katherine. How are you doing?
I am well. We have been a bit on hiatus. That's kind of half my fault. I'll take responsibility for that. I've been a little bit unwell. I had good responsibility in allowing a lovely surgeon in Brisbane to upgrade his Porsche.
Good.
I had a bit of a health issue, and I had a nice surgery that's had me out of action for a while.
Yeah.
But I am allowed from the physios to ride Zwift.
You're back on Zwift?
For like 15, 20 minutes at a time at around 50 watts.
Oh.
I'm excited.
Some blood flow.
It is. And I've got one of those beautiful Zwift bikes. So the surgery was on my abdomen. So I'm a little bit tender and I have to watch out for my core. But you can lift the handlebars right up. It looks silly. It looks silly, but I'm able to do it and it's really comfortable. So
penny farthing mode.
Look, watch out esports worlds because 50 watts.
Yeah.
Coming at you.
When you said I had a nice surgery, it wasn't a nice surgery as such, but the results all good.
It was a successful surgery,
cool.
and here I am.
Excellent.
And I'm, not a grumpy mole like I was for a good period of last year.
But look, it's interesting with you because you're a Terminator, and as much as you've been out of action, there's been developments everywhere. Let's do a quick check-in. What else has been happening?
Yeah, well, we have been getting out amongst the community over the summer, so I could only do a couple of days at a time, but we were everywhere, which was really cool. So Henk and I, we were in Perth at the Nationals, Tour Down Under, Cadell's, and what was really interesting was talking to the community, hearing and understanding what their road safety priorities are, what their experiences are like on the road, because I think that has to really inform our understanding of what the Australian cycling community needs from us. But I also had some really good meetings. One in particular, so the foundation was responsible for the legislation around minimum passing distance, so at the time called A Metre Matters.
Okay, yeah.
But there's always been a problem with enforcement of it, and some states do it better than others. But a lot of cyclists are like, it was a close pass, I even have video footage of it, but they're not doing anything about it. I can report that I had an excellent meeting with one of the state police commissioners who they were fantastic. They have had a lot of convictions so far. They pretty much have a process which if somebody wants to, put in the footage and make a complaint that they can that does actually lead to an infringement notice. And so now our job is trying to ascertain how we can make that consistent through all of the states, all of the police departments. Yeah, it was SA, so Grant Stevens over there. And look, he's a great police commissioner because he's a great communicator, and SA really prioritise it. But it was fantastic to understand that, yes, broadly in Australia it's not well enforced, but they can, and we can do a body of work with the police commissioners to ensure there's a good process for it. Because previously people have kind of called it the unenforceable piece of legislation, but it's not. And infringements are happening, and that's a really positive thing for us.
Yeah.
That's
and
great.
I have seen heard of convictions up here in Queensland as well.
Yeah.
And it does help if you've got a cyclic computer on, big plug there.
Yeah, well that's really interesting too, actually, because there's all these different products on the market that are lights and cameras. Yeah. And in terms of minimum passing distance, that is pretty much the smoking gun. Like if you can take that, that is what can be used in court if if the driver wanted to challenge it. It can turn into evidence. So yeah, it's quite an exciting space. But it's, and Henk, I saw you in Perth, but then we saw you at Tour Down Under. But we managed to podcast, but it was more about Factor.
Yeah, it was.
Mr. Factor.
Yes, it was. It's been a big 6 weeks with Factor. So travelling all around Australia. But I haven't been in Queensland very much. I've been Perth, Adelaide, Canberra, Sydney, and haven't even really done Queensland properly yet. And I live here, so but it's been going really well, and I'm really enjoying the new role. So hopefully we'll have a Factor bike on the wall here next time we've got some video footage. So
Merckxy was just bemoaning the lack of a bike on the wall here, so that's music to your ears, Merckxy.
Well, there's a space at home, Hank, next to the tarmac. I don't know.
Spider webs on that tarmac.
It's actual tarmac that he dug up from Brisbane International Airport.
Well, Ophelia, my Colnago, she's got cobwebs, but I hope to change that. Once I can get past 50 watts, I'll
I actually had an experience. I'm interested you guys are talking about this passing stuff. Not long ago, I'm off the bike at the moment due to various injuries, but a very, very close and unnerving pass. No video. No me against them scenarios, what it would have been. Where's that at? Can I just ask quickly? Because video makes it, yeah, sure, here it is, bang, witnesses, all of that. What if it's you and it's them and it's two sides of a story?
Yeah, I mean, sorry, Henk.
No, then you would, you can still go to the police station if you have eyewitnesses, not just yourself, and they can just take a registration number and they'll follow it up. Generally, some of the police just go to the residents and talk to them about it. They might not give them infringement, but the police will actually look into it. Yes, if they have time, obviously, because they're chasing bad guys around. But that is an option to do that, Kate.
It is spot on, and again, it's about providing a uniformity in process for cyclists to report it. But if you have a close pass, then you can make a complaint to the police, provide whatever information you have. And they may either provide a warning, they may provide an infringement if there's enough detail, but that is a little bit more difficult when it comes he said, she said in that kind of argument. But I mean, there is the mechanism to be able to report it, and I think people need to feel empowered to do it and create that change by force as well.
Another point too is I have been told by some local police on the Sunshine Coast that if you do have a close pass to go and report the registration, because then that registration is on file. Yeah. So even if nothing happens to you, that has been lodged with the police. So they will have that registration on file. So if the next time he does it or she does it, then they know that she's had previous. And then there is obviously some more grounds. And there's been previous experiences with her or him going too close. So I was told the police said always go and report it with the registration so that it helps.
If you're a serial offender, they're aware of it. And I guess that's the thing with going and having a chat or having a warning is it's putting that degree of fear as like, this sort of behaviour is not okay. We're on to you. You're not going to keep getting away with it, which is what we all need to hear.
Yeah, and it's kind of multifaceted because there will be some drivers who don't actually realise that's law. Yeah. We also need to change that. But for those drivers, maybe they will be much more cautious because they're mortified because they didn't realise. So there's different kinds of people who close pass. But while the foundation does the work in the advocacy space and with the policymakers and the police, what cyclists can do is put pressure from the bottom up by creating a groundswell by reporting it. Get the details, report it, put it down in a form that the police require you to. We'll work on making that a uniform process. But for now, don't sit back and feel powerless. I really empower people to put themselves forward and try and, force action.
Don't let it get to a point where it stops you from getting on the bike. And you've spoken about this all the time, with the exception of maybe America. You've had some interesting stories riding over there, but just the general relationship between motorists and cyclists in Australia. When I talk to people coming here from abroad, it's often a pretty eyebrow-raising one, this animosity that exists.
It is. Well, I mean, in the US, there were literally guns in the back of the utes that were close passing me. So you don't really report that one.
And Why not come a little closer?
No, but you're right. So
okay, well, look, so much to go on, and you guys lovely work crossing the country for the tour and everything else you've been doing. Thank you to everyone who's stayed engaged on social media and for some lovely feedback as well. We're doing the
Henk's pretty much getting mobbed. And Merckxy at the Tour Down Under, he was getting recognised left, right and centre. It was fantastic.
So shout out to all those people too for coming up to me and saying that they love our podcast. So we love doing it. So we'll try and get in here as much as possible and talk a lot of rubbish.
I love that. That's the
that we can commit to.
Okay, well, getting into it now, we are, of course, getting close. Not that the season ever stopped. Like I said, we tried to get them to pause, but they wouldn't do it for us. They kept going, but that does mean that the spring classics are just around the corner. ProVelo is on everyone's lips as well. But before we get into any of that, let's talk about Caleb Ewan and a shitty situation. Let's just call it what it is. Henk, you've got your ear on the ground. He's been a little bit tight-lipped about what went down at JCO, but as far as I think it's alluded to a little bit of stifling of his, I guess, ambitions and where he wanted to go and expectations of him not quite matching whatever. I call BS on that. There's always a lot more to this sort of story. You got any dirt for us?
No inside line, that's for sure. But I know that, I think his manager kind of may have made some boo-boos early on in the he wanted to go to Astana and so they counted him out and signed 30 riders, and then he came back and said, well, no, I didn't get a deal. So, I want to come back, and then the lawyers got involved, and then he was removed, and he's finally found his place with the INEOS now, so which is quite a good team because they don't have any fast men at all. They're all GC based, a little bit of classics riding, climbers. Yeah, so it's unfortunately his only really good lead out man is a pretty fast, strong guy by the name of Ganna. But when you're looking at riders who can lead out, I was looking through the list before. I was like, well, Lucas Hamilton's just gone there and Ben Turner's there, but. Be lovely to have Ganna doing the last kilometre for him, but he's not that kind of sprinter that needs a big lead out. He's one of those sprinters that comes off the wheel last moment, a la Robbie McEwen. So, interested to see how he goes. I doubt they're taking him to the Tour unless he goes one out because they're going to always go with GC riders, the old INEOS Grenadiers mob. So, stay tuned on that one. But, I reckon he'll just want to go for the Giro and the Vuelta.
1 year deal, and as far as you're talking, just a little bit of like, where's he going to fit? What's he going to do? What's his best role? What are we looking into as far as that 1 year? Are they still working? If it's a 1 year deal, I guarantee he'll get really good results. Yeah, it's funny how riders really get really good results when they know they don't have a contract for the following year. When you're riding for your supper, basically. Yeah, when you're riding for your dinner. I mean, he's doing okay. Caleb Ewan financially, his family situation's sorted, but I'd love to see him come out and smash in the Giro and win a couple of stages there in the Vuelta. That'd be fantastic because, he's our only real fast man with Caden. So, and we've always been renowned for unbelievable sprinters over the last 25 years. So
we've been spoilt for choice.
Spoilt for sprint. Yeah. Kate, crystal ball moment from you, Kate. Can he be there long term?
Oh, I think if he wants to, I mean, he's a huge talent. He just needs to rebuild his place in the sport and his reputation amongst teams to a degree as well. But, I mean, I have to giggle at the thought of Filippo Ganna, one of the tallest, heaviest athletes in the sport, leading out Caleb Ewan, one of the shortest riders in the sport.
Do you reckon he'd actually be able to look underneath his seat?
Yeah, I do. I reckon he'd be able to look straight under the seat post of Filippo Ganna.
Having to go out, it might be more aero just to look under.
Yeah, in fact, what we might see is Ganna just lift his elbow and Caleb come up there. Like, it could be really interesting. But it also poses the question, I'd love to see Wind Tunnel about this. Is he even getting much of a windbreak? Because is it actually the slipstream coming out? I don't know. Someone will answer, but...
We'll get answers before too long because we're going to see it happen. Okay. Massive announcement with the quote of, it's not been a bad run, hey, from Geraint Thomas. Kate, let's throw to you on his announcement. Obviously 2025, the end of a very long and let's say accolade-filled road, and the chance to go and have a couple of pints because he doesn't mind.
He doesn't mind
a little bit of amber ale.
It's been a very successful career for Geraint Thomas, Olympic gold medal, Tour de France winner. We may call him autumn leaves because he falls off so much, but he's made a pretty good living out of it. And look, he's really popular amongst the athletes. He's got a podcast that's nearly as good as ours. I'm sure nearly as many people listen. And, you know, I think he's got a big future in the sport. We're not going to see him disappear from the sport, whether it's as a director, he's kind of alluded to that, whether there's a bit of media in his future. He's contributed a lot, but the reality is that, you know, once you're edging your 40s, it's very, very difficult to keep up with the 20-year-olds. And, you know, nor is there necessarily impetus to, you know, race for 25 years as a professional. So it's been great to have him. We'll still see him around a bit, I reckon.
Do you think he needs to stay involved? Like one of the big changes is him staying involved with the team.
Yeah.
Long term.
I reckon they need him.
Yeah.
They need him as a, you know, like a character in that squad because, you know, there's been some departures and there's been a bit of bad publicity. Well, not bad publicity, but they were the world's #1 team for a long time and they're a distant third now. Maybe fourth.
He's a good leader in terms of handling personalities, and you could kind of see that through the Tom Pidcock saga, that he played a real leadership role. Yeah. And so I think
it's very respected.
He will be there in some capacity, whether it's as a team mentor, whether it's more formally as a director. I don't know. I mean, look, when you retire at that age, you've been in the sport for so long, you have a wife and kids at home. You don't necessarily want to spend the next decade plus on the road doing exactly the same thing, but just sitting in the car, not on the bike. Do
you think you'll follow Peter Sagan to Dancing with the Stars?
Don't reckon.
I think Geraint Thomas is awesome. He's awesome, but I'm not sure.
He might follow Oasis around.
Do you reckon he has the coordination and the pizzazz that
if he doesn't come on stage and do a song
Sagan
with Oasis?
I don't know.
We throw this question to Merckxy? If there's any about the charisma of Sagan, it has to go straight to Merckxy.
It does. I mean, yeah, you asked the question, Merckxy. Does Geraint Thomas have the same charisma and pizzazz?
Has he got the mojo?
Has he got the mojo?
No, I think so. He's got some chops.
He's got some
good hair.
chops.
I reckon he got all right.
All right. Well, maybe Dancing to the Beatles or something. I can see some
those eyes.
sideburns coming into it
See him
anyway.
with
Oh
like
my God.
Oasis jacket on, can't you?
Oh.
I think so. Yeah. He'd probably get at least a half price ticket, which would make it, you know,
You'd think.
around the cost of a night at the Peter Sagan Resort anyway, which would be good. He could stay there after it. Look, I'm interested in this, what you're talking about, the more technical sport role, the DS role, or more of a cultural morale kind of role. Which one serves the team better?
Wouldn't be
long
DS.
term?
I don't reckon he'd be a good DS, or he's too relaxed, but he still is a good leader. But I think DS roles, you have to be a hard ass, and I think he's
too nice.
Oh, he just gets along with everyone. Like everyone on the other teams loves him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's not like fully strict, even though he's probably had one of the most unbelievable English careers ever in cycling. But yeah, culture-wise, I'd go with that one.
On that,
Like a Ted Lasso.
he's a Lasso type. You mentioned English cycling there. Obviously, an incredible list of pedigree over the decades. Where does he rank? Is he up there with some of the greats, the Sir Bradleys,
Yes.
the Matty Richardsons?
Absolutely.
Oh, I did. I'm so sorry. Couldn't help myself. But in all seriousness, where does he sit? GB.
Well, I think equal with one above another that
This
you
will
mentioned.
be my last appearance in the wheelhouse. Yeah.
Oh, no. Like, he's right up there.
Yeah.
I mean, an Olympic gold medal in a discipline on the track, Tour de France winner. I mean, that's what Bradley Wiggins did as well.
Only
World
three
champion many times.
Only 3 Englishmen won the Tour.
Yeah, but also the
And one's
podiums
really a
at
South
Grand
African.
Tours. Yes.
Who leaves more of a mark,
I mean-
Thomas or Wiggins? You can compare CVs, but like who leaves the
they're
indelible
totally
mark?
different.
They're
totally different, aren't they?
I would say leaves more of a mark would be Thomas because he's left a cultural mark on the sport more than Wiggins has. I think, I think if you look at the impact that he's had on other athletes' careers and on the sport in Great Britain and on the evolution of Sky to INEOS and the track program, I think that he's had an enormous effect. If you just compare results, which you can't really do in cycling, but okay, if we're going to do that, then maybe Wiggins.
Wiggins, I reckon.
But
because Wiggins did it first before Froome.
Yeah, but that's not
and
no one's
Thomas.
fault.
No, I know, but like he went from the track, and so did Thomas, where Froome just came out of straight into row, but they both came from the track, didn't they? Had both track backgrounds, but he did it first. And I just remember him losing that 10 kilos. Remember when Wiggins lost 10 kilos? And from like this monster guy on the track to riding up Tour de France mountains and winning. So it was kind of cool. But I love Wiggo.
You got to take points for that trailblazing.
Oh, but then if you're talking about best British ever, like then you've got Cav, who again you can't compare the results because of the different style of rider. So I think it's, they all belong in a bucket.
They do,
and there is no necessary hierarchy in the bucket.
Yep.
But do they belong in the bucket or not? Put him in the bucket.
Well, and just, for you, now that you're back, and it's good to see you healthy again, he might not be British, but where does Wout van Aert rank in all-time Great Britain cycling?
He's got a bucket to himself.
Yeah, he's got his own bucket.
He's got his own bucket.
Just a whole world bucket for Wout.
A world bucket.
Okay, fair enough.
Can't wait to see him get in the Classics soon. I'm excited.
A decent lead-in, full of health, long track rides, drinking champagne, looking good to go, right?
Looking good to go.
Huge year.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll talk about him every episode, or?
Well, look, you brought him up, I didn't, so I don't have to put any money in the swear jar. But yes, okay. I do reckon he'll be a bingo card by the end of the season.
He's had more comebacks than Johnny Farnham, but the question around Chris Froome, moving on, is this the end of the road? The clavicle has gone. Long comeback trail, no stranger to comebacks, but
he'll come back for the Vuelta.
He's back
for the Vuelta. Oh.
He'll come back for the Vuelta. He'll be back. He'll finish out his season. He won't do, he's done his collarbone. So, I mean, he's not at a level now, and I just feel sorry for him, it's like legend, how many times he win the Tour and has that massive crash and then wants to do his last good year and then breaks his collarbone now. So that's 6 weeks out, which puts him, twice as far back So forget Giro, forget Tour. So he'll be good for the Vuelta.
Yeah, 39
years
years
old. In the
old.
nicest way too.
Yeah. Is that how you have to realistically think about it? He's 39. He's been around. He's come back, as I say, more than Star Trek. Do you have to do it that way? I just have to focus on one thing. If I'm lucky, I'll get to that, rather than overload yourself and say, I'm just going to come back and throw it all out there again. So is he just targeting something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think
it won't be that long.
Realistically, it's remarkable that he was ever able to come back into the sport. Like, whenever we're talking about him, because sometimes we're making jokes or whatever, but I think that underpins it, like that enormous respect for what he's done.
Yeah.
I hope that he can come back for the Vuelta and
have one really good day.
Have a blinder. Like, one good day.
One really good day.
Just one great day so that
Yep.
he can retire comfortably in his own self and go, you know what, that was great. I'm done. I'd hate someone like him to leave the sport feeling like they missed out or with a broken collarbone or
he must love it, eh?
Of course.
He must love it.
He must love it.
But again,
he's got nothing more to prove.
But people
right?
talk about him like, he can't win anymore. Why is he still doing it? Oh, like Henk said, because he bloody loves it.
Yeah.
Like, shouldn't we
does.
encourage that?
Go.
How good. Sorry, Merckxy.
I can hear a dog.
Yeah.
Yes.
Freddie. Who's in here?
Introducing our newest team member.
There. I've just look. He's near the door.
He's waiting for you, Merckxy.
Oh, Freddie, he's we're borrowing him.
Yeah, so for those listening on, it's a brown. What breed is the dog?
He's a Cocker Spaniel.
In the studio.
Right.
Just hear him.
And
he's fine now.
Friend and colleague of ours who's covering the NRL in Vegas. We are dog sitting for the week. But Freddie, I think, really misses his dad.
Yeah.
And he's like clinging to Luke, like following him around to the point that he's sitting there because he can probably sniff Merckxy on the other side.
I'm letting him out.
It's very sweet.
And then he's obviously smelling something on Merckxy to make him.
Oh, he's a great studio hound.
Yeah.
Oh, there
really
he
lovely.
goes.
Good on you, Freddie.
Good boy.
Chris, like you mentioned that major crash 2019, probably the big argument from a lot of people that he didn't quite obviously get back to his peak. Is that what he needs to prove to himself with one more good day, or is it just because he loves it? He just has to do it.
I think he just loves it. He gets paid really well.
That too, yeah.
He deserves to go out on his terms.
€3+ million a year. You'd come rock up every morning, put your shoes and socks on, go a couple of hours,
go for a trundle.
And I reckon any commentary around should he be riding or not, it's probably commentary for Israel Premier Tech.
Mm-hmm.
Should they be renewing contracts.
Yep.
It's not for him. He's laughing. He loves riding. He's getting paid a mozza, like happy days.
Yeah, and he also bring a lot of exposure to that team when he did first sign that contract too. So in a commercial sense, so not in a results based sense, but yeah, it was a big move for them to put that money into him.
Well, if he needs a bit of inspiration, a little bit of motivation, look no further than comeback king Egan Bernal, who I believe might have been inside a week from his most recent collarbone fracture, back on the bike, getting on social media. It's all good. I'll be back ASAP. Don't worry about it. You won't even know I've been gone.
What sucks about that is he just won the national title and time trial title quite convincingly, actually. So he was back, and then this happens. It's a cruel sport sometimes when you see that, especially with him being such a young Tour de France winner and then having, a gigantic crash. Like, we're talking like it could be the same scenario as Chris Froome when Bernal had his crash at 24.
Yeah.
Tour de France winner, younger than that, and then has that big crash. So yeah, it is a cruel sport, and yeah, unfortunately with the team they've got, I mean, he's got time though. That's the thing
for this year.
Yeah, I think he's got time to come back. I reckon they'll take him to the Tour.
Yeah, because the 2022 was an absolute horror story, and how he managed to get back on from that was defied everything, and it was incredibly inspiring. But these little setbacks, they've got to chip away at you. You start to ask questions around the mental side of things.
Can go the other way too, Joel.
Yeah.
These, all the times you get just hit over the head, down, it makes you stronger. So that could go the other way too with him. And everyone wants him to do well. He's a very likeable rider and, a prodigy when he was younger. So, maybe he could have been that guy who was, up there with the Vingegaards and the Pogachars if he hadn't had that crash. So, we'll never know. But yeah, he's 10 years younger than Chris Froome. So, that's a good thing.
He's got time, and it's a measure of character how far he's come.
Oh, yeah.
Without question.
It's huge. Rocky springs to mind straight away. It's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you get hit. And
but
get
in
back
a Colombian
up,
accent.
Right? Can you do that in a Colombian accent?
It's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you get it. Adrian. Good luck to him, because he's, as you say, luck hasn't always gone his way, but the commitment, the resilience on display across multiple major crashes have been something else entirely. So get him back on the bike ASAP. Might inspire us back onto it at some point as well. You have a good excuse, though. That's fair, Kate. You're allowed to have
injured.
a rest.
That's okay. Like, between the four of us, at some point, someone will be fit. I think you're the fittest at the moment.
Look at him. It's an absolute oil painting. Yeah, I tried acupuncture for the first time. Hairy oil painting.
Oh, God. His hair's hanging out of the oil painting.
Yeah. It's a life work. Yeah, I tried.
I was thinking more of a finger painting.
Did you?
First time ever. First time got the needles in the back.
They're good, aren't
they? It was really good. It's given a lot of hope.
Yeah.
Once you feel the pain from the needles.
I don't know.
It's no good.
No good?
It's no good.
Rubbish.
It's gone again. Rubbish. No. Yeah, anyway. Great thing to talk about in the middle of a podcast too. So thank you.
Oh, look, it would not be a podcast episode without us, doing a few laps of the old
talking injuries,
velodrome and whatnot with our discussions.
Let's go to the Aussies. Kate, what have you liked most about what you've seen at the Oceania Track Champs?
Yes, well, I'll keep it quick, but I was really excited. The Oceania Track Champs were in Brisbane at the Enemies Velodrome a couple of weeks ago, and the Aussies did really well, but with young new riders, which excited me. So new gen. So we're the Olympic champions in the men's teams pursuit, but the team that won the gold medal at the Oceanias had none of those riders in there. So we're talking the likes of Liam Walsh and James Moriarty, and I think that just is really encouraging, because often the year after an Olympic cycle
is a letdown.
It's a bit thin on the ground.
Rebuild.
It's a rebuild. Yeah, that's the term. It's a rebuild cycle. But it's been great. And, the likes of Ella Liang got a bronze medal in the sprint. Shout out to Bear. I think our young talent is coming through across every discipline.
Yep.
In the women's team's pursuit, they also, some names that we haven't seen at this level before, Sally Carter, Kira Will, kind of the next gen coming along, which is really exciting. And while we're on the track, there's been a big progress in the women's track cycling because they've changed the individual pursuit to 4 kilometres.
Out of the
from
K?
3 kilometres, yes.
Okay.
Now, this was an event that I had success in my career. I was 4th in the Olympic Games in the individual pursuit.
Yeah.
It's no longer an Olympic event. UCI, WTF, we'll get back onto that one day.
Our favourite segment.
But it was over 3K. I would be a rubbish 4 kilometre pursuiter because that extra 25%, you're thinking, it's only, 1K or 4 laps. Woof. I did not have the physiology to be able to go a further kilometre. In fact, some days I barely made the 3 kilometres. It was like, go out, hold it, can you hold on style. Yeah. And so it's interesting. Anna Morris from Great Britain currently holds the new world record for the 4 kilometres. I think that'll probably change at every event.
Yes, that's how it goes, doesn't it?
As it happens.
Every year, faster and faster.
That means there'll be some new people trying that race then, right?
Yeah, it does. It means that some riders who, maybe they weren't quite punchy enough for the 3K are now like, oh, actually this suits me better. But it also means that some riders who were just hanging on like me in the 3K, it just won't suit them anymore. So that's actually quite cool for the sport. Always great to see more equity. Like, there's no reason women can't ride 4 kilometres when the men do. Like, how silly.
We're okay
silly
with
that the women do 500 metres and the men do 1 kilometre.
They should just level it all out.
Yeah,
Like, I don't get it. Like, in triathlon, there's no Ironman
100%
is the same.
Yeah.
Like, why don't they do that in cycling for all events?
Oh.
I think it would be much better.
I've had similar
Agreed.
discussions with athletes in rugby league as well about things like game length and stuff like that. It's like, why can't we play an extra 10 minutes of a half or something, whatever it is? It's just like, these things are antiquated. They don't necessarily make sense. The reasons that these decisions were made in the first place, in some cases a long, long time ago,
because they weren't full-time athletes.
Stack up, athletes, but also there's gender reasons as well behind it.
It reinforces when there's difference between women's and men's playing times or distances. It reinforces this stupid social construct that women are weaker, because the only reason you shorten or change is in youth categories. Like my 10-year-old doesn't play full-length soccer
when they're not fully
when she
developed.
plays because she's,
so they shouldn't,
But then if the women, full-grown women, are playing for shorter than full-grown men, you're treating them like kids.
Doesn't make any sense.
I don't
and
like
then the
it.
prize money stuff comes in as well. It's like, equal. Tennis is the same, right?
Yeah.
But tennis, they only play 2
They play
sets.
shorter in tennis too.
Best of 3, best of 5.
In track cycling, the women's points race is 25 kilometres, the men's is 40. Yeah. That's a completely different event.
What about swimming?
Swimming. The women don't, the women do the 800, the men do the 1500. So, and that might actually, I'm not sure if they've fixed that,
So
but
that's
historically been.
Back in the absolutely.
They've just got to level it out.
The swimming one was a huge discrepancy.
I always found that really odd.
Well, we're not talking an extra 100 metres. We're talking pretty much double the distance.
Yeah,
and that's sort of it's never really made sense. To me anyway.
I mean, maybe to Marty Sheargold it would make sense, but
Throw that one in.
But wow,
but not here.
Did you get a CV? Merckxy.
Marty from Triple M. That might be him.
Oh, whose spot is he poaching?
It's going cheap.
Not mine.
Look,
Sorry,
Marty,
this table is full.
I don't want to say too much about that, but we are talking about the national treasure that is the Matildas, and I think that Marty had a platform. Sure, that's not what you use it for, but I just want to have a quick little talk about the employer who hires him and gives him a primetime platform to be that shock jock and promos and trades off it and makes lots of money making deals based on the tell it how it is approach of him, and then quickly jumps out of the pool, distancing itself as far as it
I
can.
think he may have stepped over the line, though.
Mortify. He definitely did. He definitely did, but you gave him, you gave him the platform.
I think we're done with shock jocks or, comedians where their humour's just offensive.
Yep.
And they just say, it was a joke.
Isn't Cole Sandilands actually still on
Yeah, he's not doing too well. He's got some health issues himself, so we'll see how that one unfolds. But highest paid broadcaster,
But you know,
going around, for sure.
and only a quick comment, but the blowback from Marty Shegold, the next day, Liesl Jones, bless her, one of the loveliest people you'll ever meet, absolute hero of Olympic swimming in Australia, she got ripped apart for her reaction not being strong enough against him on social media, like when it immediately happened.
Okay.
So actually, then the female Olympic athlete is the one copping the abuse.
Copping the abuse, the blowback from that?
Make that make sense.
That doesn't make sense.
Joel, you're from radio, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So the city of radio,
You're
just
from radio.
just south of Brisbane.
Is there such thing as a female shock jock, or are they all just blokes with dicks?
ABC has Ellen Fanning in the drive slot this year.
Is she a shock jock?
Look, that's their version of shock jock.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say I don't think there's female shock jocks.
No,
They're
not as
all just
much.
old
Not as
blokes.
much.
Yeah.
But it's more just it's more than a shock jock. It's more than a tell it how it is, stare it in the face.
There's
kind
what,
of
like,
approach.
divisive is one thing.
That's what the sheer gold
offensive
thing was. I
is
think.
another.
Oh, it was look.
You know,
okay.
like there's divisive where
Yeah.
people might not agree, but you're not being offensive and you're using fact-based argument.
Yeah.
And then there's just plain offensive where you're a dickhead.
Yeah, and those comments about
Pardon my language.
the Tillies, who we all love, and let's be honest, there's a generation of several generations of young women looking up to them and aspiring and whatever.
Without question, Joel, I will be standing on a soccer field from this weekend through to the end of the year with a 10-year-old squarely because of the Women's World Cup and the Matildas.
Most watched sporting event in Australia's history.
It was never on their radar.
Yeah.
And all I'm saying is, like, he 100% crossed the line. Don't use your platform for that. That's not the reason.
So
that
you're saying
there.
I need to pull my head in?
Hank, it's a very subtle, but just don't stop enabling him. These broadcasters who go for this value and they enable these people and then they act all, what did they? This isn't the first time he said bad things.
No.
But we should move on. But just so you know, we did express post him a hammer and a big nail.
Good to know.
And I'll follow that up with a DVD of women's sport for him to watch.
Hank, you...
Moving on.
Women's sport through the ages would be good.
Yes.
Yeah, going all the way back to like Delphi.
A history. Yep.
You've put in some big days in the saddle.
Yeah, couple.
Have you ever got anywhere near 648 kilometres in a single day?
The biggest I've done is 330 as a 17-year-old in Adelaide in 1991 December.
That is an extraordinary one-day output.
Sounds
incredible.
like Charlie Walsh might be involved in that.
incredible.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say his name. He who should not be named.
Okay.
Voldemort.
Yeah, but yes, that's my biggest day.
That's pretty bloody good. That's look. Lockie Morton's done 6:48. Okay, that's what we're talking about. But the 3:33 is extraordinary. But Auckland to Wellington, a new record for this guy. Is he ever not on a bike?
Just over 20 hours. So he averaged over 30k an hour for 20 hours.
For 20 hours.
Yeah.
And he beat
He's
the
remarkable.
record by an hour and a half only.
And not just on sealed roads, right? He's riding on everything.
He's got to be the most unique rider, doesn't he?
He is.
Like his ability to ride
an
on all
ultra.
surfaces, to ride on all distances.
He's
whether
an
it's
ultra.
A day or,
He's an ultra cyclist. There's such a thing.
For a layman.
When he went around Australia, that was unbelievable.
It's something else.
There's a doco coming out about that. Do you know that?
Yeah.
I can't wait to see that. That would be unreal.
I think the more cycling content on our screens, the better.
We'll
get
get
to
our
the big
hands.
one there.
Yeah, we'll get our hands on that and have a chat about that.
Lockie would be on a factor, wouldn't he? Surely.
No, he rides for EF, so he's on a Cannondale.
He will
So-
be.
Yeah.
He will.
Oh no,
Give
he's
it time.
contracted. He's like gets more publicity than anyone else on that team.
Yeah, right.
100%. Like he's cult following. I love his little videos he does actually in his suit. Have you seen those?
Yeah, he's
Where
quirky
it's
and
just-
it's great.
And great kid too. I've known him for
Yeah.
a long time. Lockie's
What's
lovely
different?
family.
As layman, like you say, he is that athlete. He's that ultra
Yeah, he's the ultra
kind of
cyclist.
athlete. What happens for you to realise that you're built that way? Like you're riding. He obviously hasn't always set out to be riding 650
No, it was a road pro first, and then he started doing gravel stuff, and then he realised how freaking good he was at it, and then he thought, and bike packing kind of came into it, and then still wanted to be. We'll have to get him on the show.
I think it feeds his soul more than anything. You know, I think this adventure really feeds his soul and drives him day in and day out. And the short form stuff, like he could have been a much better pro than he actually was, but he didn't really love the racing. It wasn't that style of racing wasn't his jam in terms of mentally.
You can just see when he demeanour when he's, you watch anything on television or on social media with him, he's just so cruisy. So
he's a cool cat.
Like he's
very cool.
Born to be doing those rides. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly, Kate.
Agreed.
But that lone wolf mentality as well. Like forget the bunch. I want them getting in my way.
There's a guy by the name of Svein Tuft.
Yeah.
Who was a Canadian guy who used to, before he was cycling, he was a cage fighter, and he was also, he used to train hop around Canada. Yeah. So just train to train, just, on the roof 4 hours and then get on a new train, and that's how he'd get around Canada. And then he went into full bike packing, but turned to professional really late. He was in my era. This is last century.
Canadian time trial champion, and he was a good pro.
Yeah, with Orica Green Edge early in
and Chipotle before that, I think.
Yeah, with Garmin, with some of the American crew. So and that was same kind of thing.
The era of the magazine photo shoot.
Yes, correct. Yeah. Before Instagram and all that stuff. No mobile phones.
Haven't changed a bit, Talking about who's in the best shape.
I used to have a flip phone. That was my first one.
The flip phone.
Motorola flip phone.
I had a pink Motorola Razr.
I had that.
The pink Motorola Razr.
Yeah, I dropped it in the toilet once too.
A pink one.
Still worked after I dropped it in the toilet.
I always wanted.
Really?
Rochelle Gilmore had the same pink Razr, but she put Diamantes all over the outside of hers. I was jealous. I was very jealous.
I bet you she's still got Diamantes on her iPhone.
She probably does.
I actually have a bike-related story on my first phone. It was an Ericsson flip, but it had the little antenna on top, the tiny little one. And I tried to do a jump over a canyon, the old canyon dirt jumps. And I overestimated how far it was between, because it's terrifying. And I was like, I need to be going like 400 kilometres an hour to have any chance of clearing this canyon. Not the case. I could have cleared it at probably 15. So as a result, overshot the landing pad of the canyon, landed on the back wheel, went over backwards, had the phone in my back pocket, snapped the antenna off. This was on day 2 of my first ever phone.
It's got to be like epic crash stories. When you said jumping at canyon, I was imagining like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, with the motorbike.
Landing on a train.
Evil Knievel.
Yeah. We were talking about Lockie Morton bringing a documentary out, which is great. The more content, the better. We won't be getting more Unchained. Netflix has made the call to cancel it, as is their remit. But I'm curious about that, because it seemed to be the
first one was good.
Very engaging series.
It was so good. It was so good.
There's a difficult question here. Is it cycling content? Was it the quality of what they're doing? Is it costing too much? Is the return on investment not
ROI, I think,
matching what they're putting out?
I tell you, it'll be a different streamer.
So it'll get picked up.
It won't be Netflix. It'll be something to do with the UAE.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they've also been talking about the women's tour getting a bit more focus. So we could see something around that. But I think you're right, Merckxy, because the money and the focus coming out of the UAE, like the men's team's obviously very firmly established, but the women's team has got a lot more firepower now, and they're really building, and they are just throwing the dollars in.
Yep.
So it would be in their interest. Like if you're putting that much into a team, 2 World Tour teams, it's not a big percentage on top of that to then fund this kind of content. So.
It'll be Eurosport or DAZN?
DAZN.
Yeah.
Do we need... We spoke about this previously, and seeing some of the personalities and some of the characters and certain people in the series really stood out, and they're like, a casual passing sport lover would probably just watch to see more of them because they're quirky, they're interesting or whatever. Do you think it's that? Do you think we need more of those kind of personalities to pull in the non-rusted on cycling crowd as well? Because I'll be honest, I think this one, it was great. It was full of drama. It was like a soap unfolding in the back.
I reckon they should do it on the classics. Roubaix,
I think
Flanders,
the classics would be really, really interesting as well.
Because you'd see more emotion?
It's just, because there's a lot of peculiarities around the history of it and, Paris-Roubaix versus Strade Bianche and exploring all of that. But
because a totally different style of rider too and different style of cycling. Because the Tour de France is, all right, I've got 20 days, 2 rest days, mountain riders, sprinters. So you might get another, an angle of cycling, and I think it'd be super cool. So,
okay, well, very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. I really want to ask you quickly. The National Rugby League's trying a rule this year at the start of the year where you can be sent to the sin bin 15 minutes after you've committed an offence if the player who you offended on has a concussion and fails their test. Yeah. Strange rule. I get what they're getting at. But,
okay.
Don't want to talk about that, but I just want to compare it to the no fun rule from the UCI as which of these is the strangest of the new rules coming in this year. What's the go? What's the no fun rule?
So the no fun rule is the no more victory celebrations if you're not winning. So that iconic shot of Mark Cavendish winning a stage of the Tour de France and Mark Renshaw finishing third on the stage, but hands in victory celebration also, and we do see that frequently. The lead-out man watches his rider win, celebrates as well. The UCI have said, no fun for you. And they've banned it. And they've banned it ostensibly from a safety perspective. I get it. In the middle of a sprint, you don't want people taking their hands off the bars, blah, blah, blah. However, I think that is just seriously the fun place.
Sorry, was that ever a problem?
Well,
No.
Was that ever a problem?
No.
Perfect, Merckxy. And you're right, Henk. Like, I
I've done
get
that
the
so many
theory. I get the
times.
theory of it, the safety theory. However, is this an emerging threat? Have there been accidents, Henk, that I've missed?
That's what I was going to ask.
No.
How many finish
even
lines?
come
No. I mean, in the last 3 weeks, we've had a speed hump with 100 metres to go where guys crashed. We've had riders going the wrong way with 350 metres to go in the sprint, and they're worried about people putting a left arm up going, awesome, thanks.
I know,
I've worked all day. So let's just concentrate on that instead of the safety of the riders, where it really matters.
Yeah. Well, you spoke about this last year, like some of the course design, some of the courses that were getting green lit and then subsequently seeing some spectacular and unnecessary and avoidable crashes. You're like, come on.
Well, 2 races have been cancelled this year already, and we are not even finished February.
Yeah.
2 races where teams have gone home because of safety issues. Speed humps with 100 metres to go, not enough coverage for motorbikes and everything else, and they're worried about this bloke that's putting a left hand up when he moves left out the way for his sprinter and puts his hand up.
I know, leave the speed humps in, cancel the celebrations.
Yeah.
Priorities.
Bar humbug.
Well, at least they're consistent with being dickheads.
Yeah. WTF.
It's up there with the NRL one.
And socks.
Are they telling them 15 minutes after the left-hand signal? Because that would make it on the same level.
Oh, probably.
There have been a couple of celebrations in the past that you'd be like, oh, come on.
Oh, sure, but come on, I think the NRL rule, for what it's worth, is a good one. This is a crap one.
If you can't celebrate in cycling, we're in serious trouble because that's the fun about the sport. You want to see the salute. They want to see the lead-out man do an unbelievable lead-out move left and, do the one hand.
Yeah.
Awesome, we won.
Yeah, people
that's crazy.
Respond to that
We're in
passion.
trouble if that starts happening. It turns into like Queensland, a nanny state.
We were just talking about personalities and the important, this is part of that as well. Celebrate them, let them express themselves. People respond to that sort of passion.
Yeah, 100%.
No,
they need Sagans, they need Van Aerts, they need Alaphilippes, they need the people who really talk and people connect with. And if you don't have that, then we're in strife.
I can't imagine Juju riding in any other way. A few buttons undone. Biceps out. And that's going uphill anyway.
Like a hairy oil painting.
Not unlike it whatsoever. Let's talk ProVelo. Kate, we've got an update from the Super League, basically. We've been following it very, very closely. Where are we at? How are you feeling?
Well, we've had 3 rounds. So in Adelaide, it kicked off, then Melbourne to Warney. Which is great to see that in there. And then Tour of Tasmania, also great to see that. That was moved from like a October-November slot now into earlier in the year to fit in. And it's pretty tight racing so far, but really interesting, I think. I want your view on this, son, Henk. Overall, in the leadership, in both the men's and the women's, bearing in mind that the overall winner gets a World Tour contract punt, a chance to get that.
And a custom-made factor bike.
And a custom-made factor bike.
Nice.
Jack Ward in the men and Sophie Maher in the women, they are streets ahead at the moment. They're in really commanding positions. With the next round coming up, which is in Sydney, the Harbour City GP, which is more kind of fast crits, and then they come to Brisbane. Are the teams really racing now specifically for those leaders to get that opportunity, do you think?
They are, but I will say Jack Ward and Blake Agnuletto are first and second, and Blake's a sprinter, so I know he wants a World Tour contract, and he's not going to give it to Jack.
Well, and so
they're riding on the same team.
And
so
the Sydney round and the Brisbane round suit that, right?
Well, actually, no, I think
Agnuletto.
Blake may have gone to Europe, so I'm not sure if he's going to actually punch on with Jack. So, but yeah, there's a few moving parts in this series. It's been condensed into 12 weeks, right? But the season's already started for the Euros, and after 3 months in Australia, it's nothing. So they kind of have some commitments with Euro teams. So, unfortunately, I'm not sure if Zach Marriage has a contract in Europe, but I'm pretty sure Blake's off to Europe, so he might be missing the next 2 rounds.
I know Zach Marriage was floated to a lot of teams, like the enormous talent that he is. Yeah. I mean, this is a cool series because it allows us in a more condensed format with great broadcasting.
Great idea.
To actually see the talent. I mean, I'll miss it once it wraps up because then there's a bit of a void for the rest of the year. But it is much more engaging than the NRS ever was.
No,
I used to have to actively look up the NRS to find anything on it. This is being really pushed out, which is great.
Watching it on television is excellent and overdue. So, yeah,
it's
a great race. Tassie was cool too, up some of the the climb they went up, Powhatan, the other side of Powhatan. There was 16K climb or something.
Yes,
saw our mate Scott McGrory there.
Yes, McStory was doing that. And let's not forget that the Tour of Tassie is where Jay Vine got the Strava record up Mount Wellington, and that's what kicked off essentially, his big hunt in the season for a World Tour contract. I mean, it came through the Zwift, but because of that ride at the Tour of Tassie, he was on radars. So these are races that people do watch from a talent scouting perspective.
Quick Henk story here.
Oh, I love it.
Ding.
So I got into a break, my first Tour of Tassie, 1995, I think it was, and I got into a break with a guy by the name of Neil Stevens, some Spanish long-name guy, I can't remember his name, but he was on Once as well. Myself and some young mountain biker kid who was riding from Canada. Anyway, I can't remember his name, but we got to the bottom of the climb, and this young kid, he kind of just left me and Neil Stevens for dead. Turns out he wins the Tour de France a bit later on, Cadel Evans. So he launched his his career up Mount Wellington too. So you look at that, you think of that like Cadel Evans showing his stuff on Mount Wellington, and then you're saying Jay Vine, obviously with his record, and then you watch now. So 2032, mate, we've seen these kids here cruising around the hills of Budrum or for the Olympic road race. So, yeah, these are the names we're going to see. The under-23 guys are going to be at their absolute peak in 5 or 6 years, because it's getting close, they're 27
Well,
years.
as we get to the end of ProVelo, you're going to have to tell us a little bit more about what a custom factor involves, and if you can pick your own paint.
Yeah, we one hanging here by then.
Custom with SRAM Red. Yeah, it's the Ostro Vam, bloody beautiful bike with black ink wheels. So, yeah, so they'll be fighting extra hard for a $20,000 bike. Well, not necessarily 20 grand, but it depends on what they want on it. But it'll be a great little present for them.
Hey,
want it all.
Vogels, Henk.
Yes, mate.
Shimano or SRAM?
Can have either.
No, what do you like?
Oh gosh. The new SRAM Red is unbelievable. They say it's the best group set ever. Like all the pros are even saying it at the moment. So I've had some great feedback, but Durace is just beautiful as well. So you can't really split them. I think they're really just both as good as each other. So.
I've got a combination on different bikes.
They're
I've got
both
SRAM
great.
on my gravel bike. I've got Shimano on my
they're both
Ophelia.
fantastic.
You're happy to go
Road bike.
between.
I mean, they're
I'd like an engine.
I grew up with, top tube shifters, so these are all pretty handy to me.
It's all a step up.
Yeah.
On the ProVelo, the whole thing of riders having to come and go, all these other pieces being in place with broadcast quality and sort of showcasing beautiful locations, good rides. Do we need to find a way to not have riders coming and going, losing riders for two weeks when they're up the top and doing that sort of thing? I refer only to the likes of
you can condense it. I reckon we can condense it even to less than 12 weeks.
Yeah, is that
I
the
reckon
answer?
you could do
Short,
it in
sharp?
7.
But even Big Bash has to deal with
City
that.
to
I was
city
about
to
to
city.
say, Big Bash is the big one that comes to mind because it has its best players for 3 or 4 games out of way too many. And you don't want the ProVelo to fall down that kind of gurgler where it's too long and people are starting to say, well, they're not even riding. So not that I'm saying that will happen, but...
No, but
It's a risk.
I agree, and I agree with you, Henk. Like, you could shove it into 7 weeks and it would be pretty snappy.
Started at Perth 2 days after Nationals.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 days after Nationals, bang straight to Adelaide, bang straight to Tassie, bang straight to Sydney, Brisbane. You can knock all the capital cities off in 8 weeks total.
Yeah, condense it and have your audience wanting more rather than having fatigue from it being
It's kind of like
everywhere.
when footy season, there's a game Thursday, Friday, Saturday every week for 20 weeks or whatever it is, plus finals.
It's too long. It's broadcasting trials and all that these days as well. It's just there's so much saturation, and I'm like, with this where you're trying to build this and make it stick, do you need to just make sure it's that right? I'm not going to say sample size because it's a lot bigger than that, but.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that at least what we're seeing with ProVelo is a new format. It's more engaging. It's more exciting. We have more access to the riders.
Yeah.
Through their broadcasts and their social media, we get to know the riders, the stories around it. It's already markedly changed. I'm sure next year there'll be more refinements and more changes.
Yeah.
But this is a great step in the right direction.
It's huge.
Like it's made meaningful change already. So I'm all for it.
Are we giving
Especially
a
for the young ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, wheelhouse shout out to the team for nailing it. Season 1.
Absolutely,
Coming
yeah.
close. Awesome.
So,
Great job, team.
If you're a sponsor sitting back and waiting, maybe get behind it next year.
Yeah.
Jump on.
I mean,
time, yeah.
happy for you to get on board with us.
First,
And we can help you in how to get on board with them.
we'll put you in touch.
The unofficial podcast of ProVelo.
Yeah.
There's a small handling fee
Yes.
for us to pass your
Yeah,
details
small
on.
commission.
Okay.
Which
one
bikes
thing-
do you want? Duro,
factors,
SRAM,
yeah.
what do you want? Merckxy? What's your favourite?
The old thing of I'm out, I'm drunk, it seems like a really good idea to get a tattoo now. Okay? It's the sort of thing that happens to
I
me.
love these lead-ins.
Merckxy was like, where is this
I love
going?
these lead.
I know. It's his magic.
This was this morning. It's the sort of thing a 19-year-old does when
Still
they
got a
go
sore
and
bum?
visit somewhere like
Oh, my
Thailand.
God.
Can
Boys.
you add a bleep in post, Merckxy?
Boys.
This is live, isn't it?
Anyway,
Oh,
the
go.
elongated lead in here is that sort of thing. You make tattoo bets when you're young and foolish, and you don't really very responsible. When you're the best cyclist in the world, why are you making a tattoo bet?
I mean, good question. I think today Pogačar is who you're talking about. I think he's a bit bored. He got in a very long breakaway at the UAE tour, 148 kilometres to be exact, ended up being a break of 11. He did say afterwards that sometimes the long days in the early season can be a bit boring and you have to animate it a little bit.
By making a tattoo bet.
By attacking. And when he was then in the attack, I think, again, there appeared to be a little bit of boredom amongst them and they were having conversations. And Pogačar and Florian Vermeersch made a bet. And the bet was that if Pogačar won, Florian Vermeersch would get a tattoo of Frankie the Turtle on his arm. Who is
On his
Frankie the
ass?
Turtle? On his arm. On his arm. Henk
The other
Vogels.
area is full, unfortunately. Yeah.
Who is Frankie the Turtle, you might
Yes,
ask?
indeed.
Well, I asked that too, but apparently in Slovenia there's a turtle
Call Frankie.
that
Okay.
that is, the translation of Florian, but in Slovenian, and it turns into Frankie the Turtle.
Sure.
So there you go.
Okay, firstly, Florian, what are
Pogačar
you
didn't
doing?
win, though.
He didn't win.
No, he didn't win, so Florian
No.
doesn't need to get Frankie the
He should
Turtle
get it anyway.
on
I
his
was gonna
arm
say.
or his ass.
Yeah.
Florian making that bet suggests to me that he desperately wants a Frankie the Turtle
Yeah.
tattoo.
He
Oh.
should just get it. I'd
Yeah.
get it.
It's
Yeah,
like, honestly,
I mean,
I
If he's
just-
into tats.
Yeah. if
Hey
you're
guys,
a tat
I've got
guy.
an idea, guys. Great idea for socials. Let's all show our tats now.
I don't have
Yeah, I
any.
can do that.
You first, Kate. Go.
I haven't got any.
Me either.
Oh, you've
Oh,
got
you've
one.
got-
Is
yes.
that a beetle?
That's my
A
Darth
beetle?
Vader.
It's Darth Vader.
Oh, sorry.
Is that a beetle?
Is that
It looks like a beetle upside down from here.
upside down
I am
beetle.
kind of half blind.
No,
No,
I've
that's
got.
all
I
right.
mean,
It's-
I've got two
that's the
visible
dark
ones
helmet.
on my arms.
That's the dark helmet. Yeah,
but
little
rest.
what do you call it? Stencil of the Dark
Stencil,
Lord. Yeah.
yes.
And I got the Opera House on my.
got a
so that's pretty
I
good.
got it. No, I'm not saying it.
What do you got, Henk? What do you got?
What have you?
I was going to say
Have you
I've
got
got
a Frankie
stamp
that's-
tramp. What are
oh,
those tramps?
Yes, that's a
I
very
do not-
antiquated term.
I do not have
Hendrikus.
a stamp tramp.
It's oh
I
heaven.
do
My
have
darling-
a vagina though.
My darling wife Lee won't mind that I say this, but
Oh
she
my heavens! Oh God!
self-confessed
What's
tramp
the
stamp.
segue here?
No, there's no segue. It's all good. She got one years ago, and the reason I brought up the Thailand story is because it was a Thailand tattoo.
Yes.
And only very recently has improved the tramp stamp by having it tattooed over. So it's now a more artful, reflective of her age and maturity tattoo.
Excellent.
That is no longer a tramp stamp.
Well, now I'm
So-
going to say that I think the term tramp stamp is a terrible term. It's
Oh,
very
yes.
antiquated.
An old term.
Yes.
I do, in fact, have a stamp, and I am not, in fact, a tramp.
You
So
have a
there
lower
go.
back tattoo.
I have a lower back tattoo.
Very nice. Yeah. That's
I had no idea.
yeah.
But
It's
thank
a
you,
thing.
fellas. Thank you, Henk.
Anyway,
In
I
particular?
will bet you. Yeah. No.
Are you okay? You're hyperventilating.
Oh, sorry.
No,
Now,
you
Merckxy,
can apologise to me after
Completely
that.
Enough stalling.
That was Merckxy.
foot
He
in
set you
mouth.
up for that.
Merckxy, please
He
show us
could have
your.
saved you too, and he didn't.
Oh God.
Merckxy,
Yeah,
here it
no,
is. Show us your Frankie the Turtle and your tattoo while you're at it. Now we're talking about cycling on screen. Okay, we like it. We don't like the Netflix call. We like the Lockie Morton doco. What do we think of a biopic of the great Gino Bartali, who we spoke about? We did a special
We did.
on our favourite historical cyclists, but these guys did something cool. For me, up there with Le Mans, the old I'm going to get shot by a turkey rifle and come back and win. That's the best story. The resistance rider during World War II.
It's a remarkable story. Henk, he smuggled documents in his frame.
Top tube. Yeah.
And he's top-
Seat tube.
Just an incredible story. And I can't believe that it hasn't adequately been brought to life yet. And this is a, I'll put it in inverted commas if you're listening, not watching, cycling story, but it's so much more than that.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a story for the ages.
Yeah.
It will appeal to the cycling folk because of what he achieved in the sport and what a legend he is, but it'll be just a cracking movie.
But with an American playing in Italian.
What do we think about that?
That's,
Oh, I'm not so
Well, who
sold
is
on
it?
that one.
Miles Teller.
Miles Teller.
Okay, so look, he's got chops,
Top
no
Gun.
doubt about that. He did Top Gun Maverick. He got critical acclaim. His breakout was that Whiplash movie about
Great
the
actor.
drama. He is a really good actor. He was going to do the Fantastic Four as well, but had a massive fallout. Did it, but it panned, and he was apparently quite difficult on that. So he's one of those actors that has a good movie and everyone loves him, but if the movie doesn't do well, stories start to come out. Anyway, there's no doubt whatsoever he's a good actor. He's a critically acclaimed actor. He's not an Italian actor. He's a dyed-in-the-wool American. So that's where the question is are we happy with that kind of casting? And Hollywood has spent a long time trying to correct decisions
Don't studios they don't do the movie unless they have the actor.
unless they have the actor.
The money goes in if they have the actor they want. Otherwise, it doesn't go in, whether he's Hungarian or whatever. The
Yeah.
story isn't based in Hungary or Italy, whatever. It's like they have to use the Hollywood actors.
I think
I think he'll do a great job. Like it's,
Yeah.
not undercutting his skills at all.
Chris, do you know in a famous cycling movie, Christian van der Velde's father was one of the Italians in, what's that really
Not
famous?
like Breaking Away.
Breaking Away. You know the Italians that put the pump in the front wheel and he goes over. That was like Christian van der Velde's dad. So, the pro, his dad was
of
a
course,
6-day
yes.
rider back in the day, and he was acting as an Italian actor. Super cool.
That is super cool. Well,
Yeah,
I mean, Christian
early
was an
80s.
amazing pro and
Yeah.
an amazing track rider as well. The first time I ever saw him at the Perth World Championships, you could literally put a teacup on his back doing the individual shoot.
So smooth.
It's a memory that I have from childhood. So he was so beautiful on the bike.
I was there. I was there that
In
track.
Perth?
Yeah.
I just watched
I
it.
just watched it.
I watched it on VHS.
Oh, my God.
On beta.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Maybe a
probably
generation,
whatever
yeah.
it was. I don't know. It was old.
Look,
I'm
for what it's
aging
worth,
myself.
I'm okay with this casting. I think in the last 10 years, we've seen Tom Cruise play a Nazi commander trying to kill Hitler. We've seen Matt Damon play a South African rugby captain.
Matt Damon.
We've seen Morgan Freeman play Nelson Mandela.
Russell Crowe as an Australian play an Italian legend.
Absolutely, and also
Gladiator.
as a corrupt priest as well, an Italian priest. So this sort of stuff happens all the time. I'm most excited about Karen Tankoff writing this because Karen Tankoff wrote Motorcycle Diaries. The
Oh,
directing
wow.
team on this,
I didn't know
they're an
that.
Oscar-winning documentary duo as well. So it's got incredible chops as far as storytelling
Well,
goes.
let's have a Wheelhouse team date
Popcorn night.
when it comes out.
We'll all ride
Yeah.
factor bikes to the local drive-in. Is that okay?
You can. Yeah, you can.
Should have asked him before the episode.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's awkward.
Is that us? Are we back?
I think we're back.
For now, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we noting that halfway through the show, I had to shoot over half the rundown to your side, crossed out because
Hey, no secrets on the Wheelhouse Cycling
because
podcast. There you
we
go.
certainly do not have time with all our meanders to get through it all. But there you go.
Hey, it's been a while.
But Merckxy's going to have to do some editing after that one.
Sorry, love.
After Vogels Gate, first one at 25.
It's always my fault.
Can I make one just quick observation? So, a
Please.
little thing that happens here is we come into the studio, we put our personal effects aside and we record. Last year, Henk and I had a mix-up where I took home his sunnies and he took home mine because we had identical sunnies. And I have just noticed with the new sunnies that I picked up just yesterday, would you like to hold yours up there, Henk? That we have gone and done it again.
Are you joking, Adidas?
Adidas.
Oh my
What's going to
God.
save us this time is you've got
my
the
Lord.
reading glasses, I've got the sunnies.
Yes, no.
But we have impeccable taste in
Correct,
sunglasses. So.
Mundo.
Well, because Merckxy has the same sunnies too.
We're
There
all
are three
three
of
of
you with the same style.
There's something about this new
Thank
Adidas.
you,
About
Specsavers.
consistency.
Should have gone there. We did, all of us. So
Different
yeah, all
times.
good. Like, share, subscribe, tell everyone you know. The Wheelhouse Cycling Podcast is back officially. It's lovely to be back in the bunker. Shout out to you, Merckxy, for your amazing work. Kate, so good to see you
Thank
back
you.
healthy.
And a reminder to our listeners
Yep.
that just because you have a stamp does not make you a tramp.
And a reminder on that reminder, you can evolve it. You can get it tattooed over, and you can get it turned into a lovely
I know
butterfly.
a good person that takes them off too, up in my old costume.
Just stop, Hank.
I know,
I
but
think Hank's
All right,
a
I'm
shock
going.
jock. Hank's a shock jock. He's our
No.
shock
you
jock.
do have a shock jock. That's what I was
He's our
getting at.
Kyle.
I'm trying to be.
Oh, dear.
We'll back him to the hilt too. We won't come out and backflip and oh no, he's disgusting. No, we don't endorse that at all. Love it very much. No regrets as far as a misspelled tattoo someone I know got in Thailand once.
Regrets.
No regrets whatsoever. Like, share, subscribe, tell everybody you know. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.